Hello, I'm Elena Davlikanova, a democracy fellow with the Center for European Policy Analysis, and welcome to Understanding Ukraine, a series of conversations with Ukrainian decision makers, opinion leaders, and experts to discuss key issues to better understand Ukraine, its ongoing war with Russia, the future of the Ukrainian people, and Ukraine's relationships with partners and allies. And today, I am honored to have this conversation with Halyna Yanchenko, an MP of the Ukrainian Parliament, the Servant of the People Party, and the chair of the Temporary Commission on Investors' Rights Protection. Halyna, thank you very much for joining us today. And my first question for you would be as follows. It's been 14 months of war already, and it seems like Ukraine has lost at least 35% of its GDP and is heavily dependent on international aid. What are Ukrainian decision makers doing in order to keep Ukraine's economy alive?
Well, it's really true that unprovoked Russian aggression have damaged Ukrainian economics heavily. And we are not talking about, some abstract economics. We are talking about business where people were investing for decades. We are talking about workplaces that people rely on. And that is why for Ukrainian government, as well as for Ukrainian parliament, it's very important to see how we can help economics, how we can help each and every business to survive. That's the goal. And in this regard, we are very helpful for the assistance that we are having from our Western allies and partners, including United States, including European Union. So what we are focusing on, number one, is political risk insurance and military insurance. This is very important for those investors who are looking at Ukraine for the future economic recovery process. So we understand that people need to have some guarantees, some kind of insurance that if Russians come again, or if, another president of them will get mad and there will be a rocket attack or something like that, investings will be insured, will be guaranteed. And we are very thankful, by the way, to US agencies, including DFC and MIGA, that they support these activities, that they provide Ukrainian investors with military insurance, investment insurance. Second thing that we are heavily working on is actually the taxation privileges and some other privileges for Ukrainian and international investors who are here present in Ukraine. So we are very thankful to European Union that they agreed to reduce duties, export duties for Ukrainian companies to zero. That was big help, and actually it helped a lot of companies, especially those who produce food, who raise grain to survive. We actually hope that US will do something like that, but it didn't happen yet. But we hope that US will think about some other kind of privileges just to balance, the damage that Russian caused to business that work in Ukraine. And number 3 point, I'm only mentioning like top 3. Number 3 point is actually very active and dynamic process of basically integration into European rules and regulations and European overall procedures. So what Ukrainian government is working on is like to create the single mobile phone network. So this type of sector is already integrated in EU, and it enjoys all the preferences and the things. We are also adopting a lot of EU regulations, and we put it in our legislation. So we already, despite the war, we already become a part of European family, not only, in terms of values, but also in terms of rules, regulations, and legislations. And we really hope that it will increase the basically belief, and it will make international investors rely and believe in Ukraine as a place, as a destination for investment. It is very important for Ukrainian recovery after war.
Thank you very much. And you mentioned insurance of investments. Can you elaborate more on that? Are investors in general ready to bring in money into a country which is under the constant threat? And do you know any successful cases of investors' initiatives?
Well, we don't have that much investors during the war, investors and investments during the war, which is natural. But nevertheless, despite the war, there are some new projects, including, projects that foresee some capital investment that happens in Ukraine. For example, I am the secretary of National Investment Council at the Office of President. And before the war, we developed the reform of agro-processing. And during the war, we decided to change it a little bit. So we developed typical project of agro-processing, like factories that can actually process food so we can export things with added value, but also things that have smaller value. And so to reduce the constraints and challenges with logistics. And out of 6 typical projects, 3 projects are already in the process of implementation. And this is our basically result of the past half a year. So I would say that it's quite a result, so to say.
You have been a participant of the forum that took place here in Washington recently with the American Chamber of Commerce. Do you already see any results of this event?
Well, it was a great event. World Bank and IMF have brought together members of parliament from all over the world. It was great to see a lot of European members of parliament and to receive, their gratitude, the support kind of things. And it was definitely a great networking event, and we are now working with those members of parliament who are supporting from the countries who are supporting Ukraine and continue this cooperation. So it was useful, and we really enjoyed the event.
I would like to also ask you about the overall framework for bringing in investors' money into Ukraine, because for a long time, Ukraine was viewed as a very corrupt country with a lack of the rule of law. And has that changed? And what is being done to ensure that international aid and private investors' money are not misused?
Actually, there are a lot of changes since 2014. And even more changes since 2019, when new president and new parliament were elected. So since 2014, we have started the anti-corruption reform. We have created a brand new anti-corruption infrastructure. So basically little specialized bodies that do law enforcement, that do basically like court-related things for corruption-related cases. And it really helped to raise awareness about it and bring basically high-rank corruptioners to justice. But in my opinion, since 2019, we did even greater work because we have started to work more with corruption prevention. So basically, we did a huge jump in terms of digitalization. So basically digital transformation. Now we are one of the most digitalized countries in Europe in terms of providing various services, documents, like communication between state and companies or state and citizens. We have created a special mobile application by state. It is called DIA, so it's like state and you, shorter word. And digitalization really helps to prevent corruption, because as one of European leaders once said, your laptop will never ask you for a bribe. Your cell phone will probably won't do it either. And we thought that it's a good strategy. So we did some really great successes in in these terms. We were very inspired by Estonian case. Estonia is a small country in the north of Europe. It like before 2019, it used to be the most digitalized country. Everyone admired Estonia. Everyone wanted to be like Estonia in terms of digital transformation of the state. And now in 2022, 2023, it's guys from Estonia who come to Ukraine to learn from us how to digitalize state. So I believe that this is great progress, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of our ministry and our Ukrainian government in this regard.
This is really a success. And I would like to ask you, how do you see Ukraine's future?
Well, I really hope that we will obtain victory. Better sooner than later. We all believe in victory in Ukraine, and a lot of citizens are actually doing their best to speed up this victory. A lot of people joined the army. A lot of people became volunteers. A lot of people risk their lives evacuating civilians from the front line and stuff like that. And after victory, I really believe that it will be a great place. It will be not only, the place to admire because of Ukrainians' bravery, but also a place to enjoy. Yeah, so I really hope that a lot of people will come to Ukraine to see the country, to get acquainted with these brave people. But I also really hope that a lot of investors and a lot of businesses would like to come and to see how they can help and how they can benefit from Ukraine, because the level of damages, the level of ruinations done by Russians is huge. It's tremendous. And without private investors, without companies who will invest here, who will create new jobs, who will help us to rebuild social infrastructure, it will be very difficult and a long process. So that is why Ukrainian parliament, Ukrainian government, Ukrainian president we will all do our best in order to create the best investment climate here. So it will be a great destination to do business. And I also want to invite Americans to get some more information, to start being interested in Ukraine, because it will be the best place to invest. I really hope in that kind of Ukrainian future.
Halyna, thank you very, very much for this very interesting conversation. And I hope that American investors will hear you and contact you and all the other people who are now dealing with the reconstruction of Ukraine. And thank all of you for watching this episode of Understanding Ukraine. Stay with us. And if you're interested in our work, please visit cepa.org.